Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the MMA Corner Prediction Show. As tonight, we give you our breakdown and predictions on UFC Fight Night 45, Cerrone versus Miller. As always, tonight's episode is brought to you by BattleBomb, the only pain reliever with the knockout power. BattleBomb.com. Check them out. Audio for tonight's episode is powered by Soul. Power, clarity, comfort. Soul Electronics. Get you some. I'm your host, Josh Davis, alongside my co-host, featured columnist at the MMAcorner.com, Justin Fuller. Justin, how you doing this evening?
Pow pow! That says it all.
Can we see that again?
Pow pow!
Beautiful, beautiful.
Cajun,
you know what
Cajun
that
style.
Cajun style. You know what that reminds me of? Cobra Kai. I kill, I drill. You know, right up your alley?
Oh, yeah.
All right. For those of you who are too young for that, that is the Karate Kid reference right there. But in all seriousness,
The original one.
the original one, exactly, not the fake stuff, the original one, Ralph Macchio. Anyways, in all seriousness, we got a lot to talk about tonight. UFC Fight Night 45, Cerrone versus Miller, coming at you live tomorrow night from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Main card starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. Prelim start at 7 p.m. Eastern, both on Fox Sports 1. And then there's a Fight Pass fight at 6:30 Eastern, so definitely get on Fight Pass and check that out. But there are a lot of fights to go through, so we're not really going to BS. We're just going to get right into it. You ready, Justin?
Oh, yeah, always.
All right, let's do this. All right. First fight of the night, I'll let Justin start this one off. We have Lucas Martins versus Alex White. Justin, give us your thoughts.
I'm going to start off right at the bat. I'm going to pick Lucas Martins in this one. He's been in there with toughened guys. I mean, he got beat by Edson Barboza, but his knockout over Larson was nothing short of spectacular. He got that submission victory over Junior Hernandez. He's Alex White, though. He's a young kid. He's undefeated, 10-0, but he's only had one fight in the show so far. And I think this is his first real test. A lot of people don't know who either of these guys are, but White's one of those prospects people have had their eyes on for a little while. While Martins, I think he's got a lot more to show, and I'm curious to see, where he's comfortable at now. It's a featherweight bout. He did have that one fight at bantamweight, so let's see how he looks here in the UFC more consistently.
I agree with you. I like Lucas in this fight. First off, I love Alex. He's a beast. He's 10-0. You gotta love a guy that is first off on the 10-fight win streak, and he's beat some quality opponents. But as Justin alluded to, Lucas faced a tougher competition. Now, obviously, he did tap out to strikes to Edson Barboza, but there's no shame in that. Edson's a beast.
That was a lightweight bout too.
Exactly. A lightweight bout. And so I like this kid. I think he's got a lot of potential. Again, I think he's faced tougher competition. He's been in the show a little bit longer. He knows what he's dealing with, and he also knows what he's going to lose if he were to lose this fight. So I like Martins in this fight. I have to agree. Moving right along, John Lineker against Al Ozolish. Justin, start us off on this one, too. Why not?
This is Lineker's fight to lose. He's coming off of a one-sided beating to former title contender Ali Bagatinov. But before that, he was on a 4-0 run in the UFC. He did have a couple problems with weight, but he didn't have any problems the last time. And once again, he's been in there with some of the best in the division. And I think this is a good, I don't want to say rebound win, but I think as for Alptekin Ozkalic, I just think he's going to be in over his head. But either way, I don't see either of these guys getting cut with a loss. And it actually shows the development of that division. 125 and 265 are the weakest right now, but with 125, it's just because it's been underdeveloped. 265, it's always going to kind of go between, lukewarm and, cold. But this shows progress in the division. But my pick's Lineker. I'm going to say by TKO second round.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is Lineker's fight to lose, and I certainly think he's going to get the TKO or KO victory, second round, third round, something like that. Now, as far as Ozolich goes. He's definitely a tough dude, and he's got a lot of potential. I think, like you said, this is Lineker's fight to lose. He's got all of the skills. Losing to Ali Bogatinov, obviously, there's no shame in that. I look for Lineker to rebound and, again, prove that he is one of the best in the division, and I think he's going to do it in highlight reel fashion. And so I am certainly looking forward to him getting either the KO or the TKO victory in this fight. What do you think, Justin? Is he actually going to get a KO? Do you think he can call it out? I love Lineker's power. I'm going KO.
Oh, like a legit KO?
Legit KO.
Ooh.
I'm calling it. I say it gets the legit KO.
TKO. But in this sport, you kind of got to, like, we don't really. I'd say it's a lot harder to get a straight up KO in this sport.
It is.
And then in its sister equivalents.
It is, but I'm going with it. I'm calling the straight KO. All right, up next, Joe Proctor versus Justin Salas. I like Justin J-Bomb Salas in this fight. Now, he's been hot and cold in the UFC. He got his debut win over Anton, then lost to Tim Means, got a victory over Aaron Riley, then lost to Thiago Tavares, came back with victory over Benoit. I look for him to continue his winning ways over Joe Proctor, but Joe's no slouch, and I wouldn't be shocked if Joe was able to get this victory. I mean, the kid's 9-2. He's been in there with tough competition. He knows how to perform under these circumstances, but I think Justin's going to be able to get this victory.
I'm going to have to go the other way on this one. I like J-Bomb. I just don't like him in this fight. He has been hot and cold. But his two losses, I mean, he doesn't really have a significant win yet, and his two losses are two guys that are basically journeymen in the division. I mean, Tim Means got cut and brought back and lost in his return fight, but they're giving him another shot after that. I think he's fighting later this month at UFC on Fox. Not to say that Joe Proctor, has faced tougher competition. I just think he's got a lot more to show, and that this is a good fight for him to show it.
Yeah, I certainly won't disagree with that. Obviously, Proctor does have some skills. The kid is for real. I just look for Justin to start putting some wins together and start making a run. Now, that could be because
he's a hometown hero. That's why.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call him a hero here. As far as Denver goes, we have a ton of elite fighters training here in Denver. Justin's got a ways to go to be a hero, but we do all love him. He is such a great guy. I love training with him. So that certainly could be it. I could be biased, but I do think he has the tools to win this fight. I'm going Justin. But again, like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if Proctor pulls it out. All right, up next we have Leonardo Mafra. Stepping up on short notice. I believe he took this fight on 10 days' notice, to be exact, taking on Rick the Horror Story. As we've said with several other fights tonight, this is Rick's fight to lose. There's no reason that Rick shouldn't be able to come in, put his stamp down, and continue moving back up the ladder of the 170-pound division. Now, for those of you who don't know who Leonardo Mafra is, this guy is legit. He's no slouch. He is making his UFC debut, but he is 11-1. He has fought some competition. He's no slouch, and he's going to be coming in to put his stamp down, to let everyone know who he is. I just don't think you're going to do that against a guy like Rick Story. However, last time someone stepped up on short notice to fight Rick Story was Charlie Brenneman, and we all know how that turned out for Rick. So he certainly has been known to, fail in these types of situations, but I don't think this will be the case tomorrow night. I think Rick's going to come in. I think he's going to do the things that he does best. I think he's going to grind him. I think he's going to outwork him. I think he's going to horror story him and walk away with the victory.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say, you know, this is a tough one because I like Rick's story. I mean, he was right there on the cusp of a title shot at one point himself. You know, he had 6 straight in the UFC, and like you said, he ran into Charlie Brenneman, who, again, what's Charlie Brenneman up to these days, right? He's literally been going back and forth for his last 6 fights, you know, 1-1 every 2. So, I mean, the trend says he should win this one, but he has been in some wars. I mean, he was in a war with Gastelum. That fight with Pyle was just brutal back and forth. So I think that might be the saving grace, that a loss here might still be able to save his job. But I'm not really sure how much left he has to show at this point. He might need to go back to the drawing board, and I'm hoping he did it already and can put on a good show. As for Leonardo Mafra Teixeira, like you said, the guy's 11-1. I mean, he's been fighting Brazilians, you know, most of his career, but he's also been just running through them. You know, he's got 2 decisions on his whole record, you know, 9 finishes. So that's scary right there. He's 25 years old, so I think for Rick, it's going to be his wrestling's going to be the key. And if he can put that together, control the fight, and, you know, maybe look for the finish late in the 2nd or early in the 3rd round. But at the same time, he hasn't had finish since over a year ago against Quinn Mulhern. And again, you know, what's he doing these days, right?
Exactly. So, most people don't even know who that is.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but you know, he can't do what he did in his last 2 losses and just try and grind it out, because that's worked against him. He's going to need to look for the finish, and he's going to look for the finish to put on a good show, get a good bonus too. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the unknown underdog, Leonardo Mafra Teixeira, in this one. 1st round knockout, legit knockout.
Well, there you go. And fans, I want to correct myself. This is not Mafra's debut in the UFC. He actually debuted in the UFC at UFC 147, Silva versus Franklin 2. That was his only loss. So, again, I just want to correct myself on that one. All right, moving right along. Main event of the night. I'm looking forward to this fight. I really do think matchup-wise, this has the potential to be a very, very exciting fight. I'm excited for it. I think these guys are going to deliver. Justin, start us off on this one. Edson Barboza versus Evan Dunham.
This is, I mean, if you don't know who these guys are, then you're no fan of the lightweight division. I mean, these are 2 guys who could have been fighting for titles at one point in their careers, but just things didn't go their way. I mean, Evan Dunham, you know, he had that fight with Sean Shirk that meant he felt he won. And then he followed that up with that brutal loss to Melvin Gillard, but then he strung 2 together, and since then, it's kind of like in Rick's stories about, right, back and forth. As for Barboza, you know, he hasn't had as many problems, but the 2 he has, I mean, you lose to Jamie Varner, and people start wondering what you're doing here. You lose to Donald Cerrone, they're a little more forgiving, but that's real recent, and right before that, he was putting a good win together himself. So, you know, I'm thinking people are probably going to be picking Barboza mostly, but, you know, it's been a while since we've seen Dunham, and I think he's ready to get back to form. You know, he's 32. He's got 19 fights on his record, but I still think he's got something left to show the sport, and I've got Dunham by decision.
Well, I think Evan's got a lot to prove in this fight. Evan started off 11-0. Since then, he's gone 3-5, and that's really not going to cut it. After he beat Tyson Griffin at UFC 115, he was definitely in the title hunt, and you know, things didn't go his way, and the Shirk fight, then he lost to Gillard, and you know, it just hasn't been there for him since. I think he's got more to prove right now than Barboza. Now, both of them are coming off losses to Cerrone. Dunham, submission, UFC 167, and then obviously both Barboza's and Cerrone's last fight was against each other. So I think Barboza is going to be able to pull this victory out. In his last fight against Cerrone, yes, he did lose, but up until he got clipped, he was winning that fight. He was outstriking Cerrone. He was the quicker fighter. He was the more accurate striker. He was winning that fight. And I think the way Evan just comes straight forward in his striking style to work for his takedowns and that kind of stuff, I think that's going to be an advantage for Barbosa. I think he's going to be able to dance around him and pick him apart. I think Barbosa is going to be able to do enough in the striking to control this fight, to dictate where this fight takes place, and I have Barbosa winning. I don't think he's going to be able to finish on him, but I do think he'll get a decision. All right, fans, here we go. Main event, Cerrone versus Miller. Justin, start us off.
I mean, you got number 6 fighting number 7. You know, both guys coming off a string of wins. You know, not counting the no contest, which was originally a loss, that puts Jim Miller at 3 straight wins. Cerrone himself, 3 straight wins since his loss to Rafael dos Anjos. I mean, this is basically a title eliminator and everything but name. You know, and both of these guys have been there before. They've been in that title eliminator position before. You know, Cerrone himself, I fought for the WEC title how many times? 3? Is that what I got? 3 counting the interim title fight. You know, I mean, he's been in there with they've both been in there with the best in the world. And, you know, I think a lot of it depends on which Donald Cerrone shows up. I think Donald Cerrone at his best beats Jim Miller at his best, but Jim Miller comes at his best a lot more consistently. And as much as I love the Cowboy, I'm going to have to go ahead and pick Miller in this one. I don't think he's going to get a submission. I don't think he's going to get a knockout, but we're going to see a 5-round war that's going to see him beat one out of him.
Well, first off, I don't think this fight can go 5 rounds. I don't think, honestly, and I love Cerrone, I just don't see Cerrone going 5 rounds. I mean, I think if Miller's winning this fight, I think mentally he will break Cerrone before that 5th round and be able to finish him. However, like you said, this fight really depends on what Cerrone shows up, because I agree, Cerrone at his best, with his kickboxing, with his submission skills, with everything that he does, beats Jim Miller at Jim's best. But again, we don't know what Cerrone's going to show up. Is it the slow-starting Cerrone that's, you know, inside his own head, afraid to pull the trigger? If that's the case, Cerrone's going to be in for a long night, because Jim Miller won't be afraid to pull the trigger. Jim Miller won't be afraid to do what it takes to put down an ass whooping, and he certainly will. However, if Cerrone comes fired up and ready to fight, I think he'll be able to put it on Jim. Obviously, they're fighting essentially in Miller's backyard. It's, I don't know, that goes both ways. Some fighters love it, some fighters hate it. I think Cerrone's going to be able to get this victory. I think he's got his head on straight. I think he knows what he needs to do to make a title run, and he does want to make a title run. I think he's ready to put all the BS behind him, show up, and actually fight. However, I could be wrong, and he gets his ass whooped. But I am going Donald Cerrone in this fight. I don't think it'll be a 5-round decision. I think Cerrone will find a way to get a TKO or a submission victory. All right, guys, so there you have it. That's our thoughts for UFC Fight Night 45, Cerrone versus Miller. Justin, final thoughts.
You know, weekday card, no complaints, right? What else are you doing on a Wednesday night? Normally, I don't think this one needs a lot of convincing. I think it sells itself, especially because it's a weekday card. If you're on the East Coast, you might be up a little late, but hey, World Cup's over, right? So it doesn't matter. But I think the main event and co-main event sell this card as it is. I think the Gleason Chabot, Pat Healy fight, and Jessamine Duke, Leslie Smith sell the prelims all by themselves, and then we get to see a lot of guys who you don't normally see on the pay-per-views and on the main card showcased on this one, and that's really what these fight nights are about. These free cards on table are all about showcasing new talent. That's the way boxing's done it for years. That's the way the UFC's doing it now. So when people complain about free cards, free fights that aren't stacked, that's not the point of them, But we're getting some fights that have some impact in the division, which is big, and you're basically getting de facto title eliminators the main event. So that's always a good time.
Well, and plus, I say this all the time, it shows you tomorrow's stars today. In order for these guys to become the GSPs with the huge following, to become the Anderson Silvas, this, that, and the other, you got to get them in front of the people. You got to give them opportunities, and that's exactly what these free fight night cards are. They're the opportunity for us to see all of these guys that they can't, that aren't going to be on pay-per-view, and if they don't do these shows, then we're never going to see them. They're never going to get the opportunity to fight. So don't complain about the cards. Just tune in and watch them. I'm stoked. It's Wednesday night. What else do you have going on? I'm going to be putting my kid to bed and tuning in, and I'll be one happy camper. Because, again, it's Wednesday night. What else do you got? I don't even know what else is on TV Wednesday night. So I'm stoked. And, again, Cerrone Miller easily could be on a pay-per-view card. Barbosa Dunham easily could be on a pay-per-view card. So certainly a quality event. Now, guys, we will be back tomorrow night to give you breakdowns and reactions to tomorrow night's event. We'll also be back on Thursday to give you our thoughts and predictions on UFC Fight Night 46, McGregor versus Brandao, so definitely check that out. We will be back on Saturday night to recap that event, and then, as always, on Sunday, we will be here to recap the week's top news stories. But if that's not enough for you, go to the website, themmacorner.com. Check that shit out. Look at the site. Read all the articles that you need. I don't know what else to say. So until tomorrow night, for Justin Fuller, I'm Josh Davis. Keep living the MMA Corner lifestyle. Pa-pow!
Pa-pow!